This is the Dijiti podcast, season 1, episode 5. My name is Masi Muteni.
And I am Maria Mbeneka.
This is a podcast where we talk all things digital law. In season 1, we've been focusing on court cases that have shaped our digital future. Unfortunately, this is our last episode in season 1. You can always go back and give the other episodes a listen.
This is our last episode for this season, as Masi said, but unfortunately, it's a heartbreaking one.
Yep, I did not want to cover this case, but we have to go to the uncomfortable places to address things that, as a society, we really need to put an end to.
I agree, and we apologize in advance to M, who is the person of interest in this case. They happen to be a minor. And as we go along, as you listen to this podcast, you will realize that M will be reliving a trauma that they did not ask for.
Yeah. So what you're talking about is police brutality. And this is something that as a society, we just really need to demand that this comes to an end. And even this year with the Corona Chronicles and curfew, it was at an escalated level. So now what do you get when you take police brutality and you mix it with, digital online violence? So that's what this case is about. So many of you may remember sensational news in 2015 of a matatu ferrying students that was intercepted by traffic police along Karatina Nairobi Road. The way it was reported, it was alleged there was drinking going on in the matatu, they were smoking weed, they were having sex.
And just for a bit of context,
yes,
these were high school going kids.
Yes, they were high school going kids. They were coming. Yeah, they were coming back from an event, so I guess they'd hired a matatu because they were going to the same place.
Mm-hmm.
So what the media didn't tell you, or what you don't know, is that in that matatu there was a girl, M, a minor.
Mm-hmm.
The police stopped the vehicle. Mm-hmm. One of her male students, colleagues, gives her a folded substance to hide for him. Okay? Mm-hmm. I don't know if at that point in high school everyone knows what weed looks like, or if someone gives something to you, if you have the emotional or even intelligence to say...
Or the presence of mind.
Yeah, presence of mind to say, don't give this to me. So a boy hands her something to hide for him. I don't know the story behind it, but she hides it in her bra.
Mm-hmm.
So they were taken to the police patrol base. Mm-hmm. And then while they were there, and this is disgusting, they were indecently searched. A police stripped her blouse, lifted her skirts, pulled her underwear. While this violence was being visited upon her, other police officers who were observing, including male police officers, were allowed to take her nude pictures.
That is just so disgusting.
How dehumanizing is that? Like, this is a minor.
Those are perverts.
I know.
They just stopped being police officers. They became perverts.
At that point, they were just occasioning violence to her. As in, I don't know.
And then she's a minor. There are so many ingredients here that are wrong.
Yeah, there's so many things that are wrong in this picture.
Yeah.
She's a woman. She's
minor.
Not even a woman. She's a girl.
Yeah.
A minor.
In school.
Okay, let's start here. She's a human being.
Yes.
Let's start there.
Okay.
She's a human being, a minor, a girl, deserving extra protection.
By these police officers.
Same. Utumishi kwa wote. Hi. She was later charged with possessing cannabis sativa, and then she pled guilty. I imagine in that situation, you don't even think that you would say, I'm not guilty. When you remember what the cops did to you, do you think there's anything else you're going to say? You just want to be out of that situation.
As it is, you're already scared.
You're scared, you're traumatized.
Yeah.
Her mother comes to pick her at the police station, and first thing...
Before the mother comes, as if what they've done to her is not bad enough.
Yes.
They actually proceed to share those photos all over social media. So even before her mother gets there, the photos are already circulating. Can you imagine if you're the mother of this child and you're sitting at home or you're at work and you see these photos, you know your kid is in school. So you're compounding a problem. If you're that parent, you can actually even get a heart attack.
I know.
It's so crazy. So they circulate the photo all over. Of course, the photos go viral.
Of course.
This child is now undergoing psychological torture, embarrassment, ridicule, and constant fear that her photos will be used for pornography. She can see them taking, they're not hiding the fact that they're taking. You know even how they tell you, Kaivi, Kavizuri, and then they take a photo of you. And because it's cops, she has to comply. She can't even resist. And because of what they actually put her through, she ended up suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. And this is what happens to people who've been in very, very stressful situations. I mean, you go off the bend completely.
I mean, I don't know. This story just disturbs me to no end. It was violence upon violence upon violence, and the mother tells the court, like, the moment she showed up to the police station, instead of them taking her to their daughter, the police officer is there showing, no, you ona picha zake. So like you're a mom. The first thing you're met with is nude photos of your child.
By a cop. There's something fundamentally wrong with the training that happens at Kiganjo. Because there needs to be a very clear definition of what the children's rights are. Besides the rights of a suspect, you have to treat children offenders differently.
Yes.
They cannot be held in the same place as adults. Mm-hmm. You cannot take pictures of them. You cannot... you cannot traumatize them. You cannot purport to punish them, because these police officers actually forget that they're supposed to be protecting you, even as a criminal or a potential criminal. You have rights.
Yeah.
And you deserve protection. To make it worse, because this is a minor, they don't even know what they're supposed to do or not do. Supposing this child had been, in the worst case scenario, indecently assaulted, because they were indecently assaulted.
Yeah.
Actually, they were indecently assaulted.
Yeah, why are you touching
by the time you
clothes
go
and you're stripping them?
Digging your dirty...
That's sexual abuse.
Bribe collecting hand into somebody's bra. Seriously? And then you take pictures. Anyway.
But you see, that's the thing. When these photos went viral, first of all, that those photos went viral says something pretty rotten about us in a society. The first people to receive those photos should have finished that story like, this is not cool. You should not have sent me this video. It is not even cool that you had taken this video.
But this is Kenya.
But now it went viral, which means even the society is rotten. The oxymoron is, the story that was being told is how, ona venye watu wameharibika in this, watoto wameharibika in this country. These are adults who are talking about children while watching child pornography, because when you're looking at photos of children who are nude, that is child pornography. So it is not really the children who are rotten in this instance. It was the adults, the people who made it go viral. That was who the problem was.
Yeah.
Anyway, the office of the DPP carried out an investigation and found actually there were specific officers who were culpable.
Correct.
And even named them. Now, on top of that, the police officers were involved in a scheme to
cover up.
As usual. They say, there's nothing that was done wrongly. We don't know who took those photos. The child was in a police station. Photos were taken. How could you not know who took the photos of the strip searching going on?
So in this case, they swore misleading affidavits.
Imagine. Yeah. Which in itself is a crime, actually.
It is.
Yeah.
So what happens next?
The Attorney General joins the cover-up. Mm-hmm. They say, we have checked all the facts and there's really nothing wrong that the people did. And that's, for me, I don't know, this is just frustration upon completely. However, Maria, something different happens in this case. And I think, for me, this is worth highlighting. We don't get to see this often. You see, there's a cover-up mission going on, the cops, the AG, but the DPP decides we're not going to be part of this cover-up.
Lovely.
They even tell the court mistakes were made.
They admit.
Mistakes were made. Grave ones. Cops have a duty, but there's a way they're supposed to do that duty. The Constitution says how they should do that duty. even their own standing orders tell them how they should do their duty. Never like this. So because of that, the DPP undertakes their own investigation. They even go ahead and recommend that the police officers who are involved, specific police officers who are involved in that action should be charged.
So how many were charged?
I don't know whether they were charged. I do remember seeing a report that they were going to be charged. So yes. I don't know the progress with that. But I would like to see them be charged. Anyway, back to this case.
So the search was conducted. By 1 a.m., a police officer, which was in violation of the law. Then, as you've said earlier, the DPP ordered that criminal proceedings be brought against her. I have to say this. It was a female police officer.
Man.
Anyway, this case was really about the right to dignity. And we see how the court confirms that even in a digital world, that right is not lost. It must be protected. Now, dignity is complicated, Mercy.
Yeah.
You need all these other rights to enjoy your dignity. You need your right to privacy. You need to not be subjected to inhuman treatment or punishment. Even when you commit a crime, you need to be treated humanely and fairly.
Yeah.
So that's why we've covered this case. The instances of brutality are too many in the police force. Well, they say it's a police service, and it's my expectation that since 2015, internally, the police service has actually taken steps to, first of all, sensitize the police, sensitize their own officers as to how to handle, just like similar to rape cases, how do you handle children offenders, so that you don't have instances where you're knowingly and unknowingly violating the rights of children.
And with children, it's even a more special case because something like an arrest for a child is extra traumatic. So the regulations even recommend that arrest should be the last thing. Everything you do must be in the best interest of the child. The best interest of the child at this point is to guide the child, is to reform the child, is not to punish the child. This child is not a monster, they've just made a mistake. There's other polite ways you could have arrive at the same solution without traumatizing this child. Anyway, the basics of a search, to do it with dignity, to be done by a female officer in private.
And explain to the child
exactly
what is happening. But you remember, there were even instances, before we get to how much, because there were awards in this case, in the instances of where kids were partying, because after that, people became vigilantes, like taking videos of kids when they're having house parties.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember the case in Langata, where kids were having a house party and then a video was taken and kids were jumping over the wall.
Yeah.
And then this parent sees, stuff happening in their house. So I think it was a neighbor who went and busted them having a party and took a video, and the video also went viral. And so I remember later in the day, parents were, all tooled up at Langata police station going to pick their kids. So how these kids were also treated, their images were exposed.
Yeah.
Their faces were all over social media. And they said they were having a birthday party, which can happen let's not also criminalize socializing by young people, especially where there's supervision.
Yes.
And I don't remember whether in this instance the parents said they were being supervised, but I remember now, because of what happened with this girl and those kids in Karatina, that it became like a national wave of adults exposing children.
It's actually shaming children.
Yes.
And that informs the whole idea behind Ifikie Wazazi, that hashtag, that stupid hashtag of harvesting photos from social media accounts of kids and then now posting them on Twitter so that Ifikie Wazazi. And this is addressed to KOT. What you don't realize is every time you share nude or semi-nude photos of children, what you're doing is taking part in child pornography. My friend, you will sleep in jail. You will sleep in jail. Sharing photos of children in any compromised situation is a crime. there's a way you can make those issues or those discussions trend without using their photos. Never ever expose the image or the likeness of a minor in the context of morality. You are just wrong. There's nothing the child has done there. You are the one who is in the wrong.
So what happens now? Let's take a step back.
Yes.
In the converse, where kids are like the ones who are during this corona pandemic.
Yes.
And one calls the parents. They've been drinking somewhere, and they call the parent to say, "Okay, look, we're caught out. I'm caught out. It's after curfew. I won't be able to make it home." The mother happened to work for a national organization, and she sends the child an ambulance, and then the kids are in the ambulance. They continue recording themselves partying and having a good time, and resuscitating. They were trying to resuscitate a bottle of gin. I don't know if you remember.
I saw it. Yeah,
it's so tragic. It's funny. So these kids, one went on IG Live.
Yes.
So they were broadcasting their nonsense themselves.
Yes.
So in that instance, what to do, and also add to some of these twerking videos that happen on Instagram. And I remember one of our colleagues wrote a demand letter on behalf of a parent, saying that what is happening on this particular show, which was being broadcast live, is immoral. It's exposing the children, and so on and so forth. And the response was that these kids have willingly gone onto that platform. And I think I don't know if they've sued or how far they've gone. We're only treated to the demand letters. What happens in those instances?
You see, it's sort of different with the case of the ambulance, because when those already adults, they were young, but they were adults. They were not children.
Okay.
So now with the twerking, now if Extiandela hosts minors in his Instagram lives twerking, I mean, that's a real problem. So I don't know that he has, and I really hope that he has not. But I mean, if they're adults, they may be young, they may be in need of guidance according to the majority of the people. But as long as they're not minors, I mean,
assuming
that's
they're minors.
If they were minors, my friend, straight ticket to jail. But how
do
to
not
handle
pass
it?
Go, do not collect 200.
Do not even collect, straight to jail.
Yes.
With no option of coming out of jail for another, I don't know how many years.
Yeah.
In fact, the punishment for child pornography, sharing child pornography, for traumatizing children, for even marketing anything with children, they're quite severe according to the Sexual Offences Act and also the Children's Act.
Yes.
People really need to be aware of that. But the right way to point out these issues is just to talk about it without exposing the minors.
Yeah.
You could have done a viral thread on Twitter and talked about it and not expose the minors.
Yeah.
The moment you introduce the image and the likeness of the child,
and their identity.
Let this judge tell you what he did.
Yeah.
Now, this judge, he was so unhappy with their conduct. Let me tell you, this judge went on a rant. The judgment is msomeo. Aliwasomea. Like it was like y'all are wrong for this. Not only wrong, it was just he was not playing any games.
Yeah.
Of course, he found the police officers and even their bosses and their supervisors to be all in violation of constitutional rights, especially the right to dignity, the right to privacy of this minor.
Yes.
And here's the award, because we always talk about the award.
Yes.
4 million shillings.
I love it.
I love it too. I love it because that is a statement worth making. Now listen, 4 million is not anything when it comes to your dignity. It can never return the dignity. The photos of this child are out there. Of course, fearing being featured in a pornography video, finding your videos in a pornography site is something a lot of women will live with, and it's very traumatizing. Like, you just want to, I don't know. There's nothing you can do about it because it's already out there.
Even 10 years from now.
Yeah, it will just always be there. It will follow you.
Yeah.
They'll bring it up in all your interviews.
Yeah.
It's quite traumatic.
Yeah.
Why we say this was good is because we know on the salary of a police officer, unatoa 4 million wapi.
You can't.
So that is why this is a good sentence. Yeah.
And so I think it's very, what's the word? It's a very, assuring judgment. If you're coming from the courts and looking at how justice is dispensed, this is a very, very good judgment. And it actually gives us hope that the courts are listening and the courts are watching.
Yes.
And that there's justice for anyone's rights, especially in this case, minors whose rights have been violated, especially in the hands of the police. I mean, the police, I'm supposed to run to you if I'm a child or as an adult when I feel unsafe. But if I'm running to you and you become my violator and my tormentor, we needed to have put them in public.
I know. They're the ones who should have been trending. Their photos should have been trending, not the minors' photos. I don't know. We have our priorities messed. Anyway,
twisted. But the courts came through once again.
I'm happy with
Justice
that.
Justice be our shield and
the other thing this confirms is, and the cases we've been covering, is that your rights online, your rights offline are also protected online.
Yeah.
So do not shy away from going to the courts in case any of these things happen.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry to end on a somber note, but we felt like this is a case that needed highlighting because
and for parents and anyone, even the kids who are online, this is just a testament to the fact that kids are actually vulnerable online.
Yeah.
And in the world that we live in today, a child is given a phone before they're given a shaker.
Yep.
So we need to be very, very careful. Even those videos that look cute, or your baby is bathing, you don't know. These pedophiles out there, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know where your child will end up. It's just crazy. So it's a very good eye opener for any parent or young people who are out there. But the options are there. Your rights can be protected.
Yep, always. Anyway, this has been season 1 of the Dijiti.
It's a wrap.
Look, this case has messed me so much I can't even say the name of the podcast.
Dijiti, darling.
Of the Dijiti podcast. Thank you so much for giving us a listen. Follow us on social media at Dijiti podcast. We're on Twitter. You'll find us on Facebook and even on TikTok.
Oh, we're going there.
Yes, and Facebook too. So follow us. Let's start a discussion. Tell us what topics you'd like us to cover in season 2.
Yep.
Of course, we'll be back. We really enjoyed recording this podcast and even talking about these things because we need talking about.
And from Mercy and I, till next time,
Tiwainesa.
Background music, mood shifting, done by Nalokanga. Please check out more of our projects on the podcast description linked below.